class, exam required to qualify.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays 9 to noon on The Score, 92.3 FM KWRZ Kenyonville and 1490 AM KSKR Roseburg. Listen online at 541radio.com or go mobile with the 541 Radio app. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. We're setting up shop, so pop open the cooler, pull up a seat.
Who wants to have some fun?
Let's talk some pigskin.
If they finish out with 2 losses, but they didn't beat a team from a Power 5 conference, the perception is not going to be great for Oregon State. And unfortunately, college football, no matter what kind of realignment we have, it's still a beauty pageant, and you still have to have wins that look good on paper.
And this is big for just recruiting teams to join the Pac-12, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Oregon State beats Purdue, all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe the Pac-12 can still compete with the Power 5.
And could be considered back into that Power 5 level.
Yeah.
From the Score Sports Closet, it's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show.
God, I got to tell you, those old intros, a little funny.
They're fun to
this.
listen back to, aren't they?
They definitely are. We definitely go off the rails sometimes, and some of the takes they hit, some of them definitely not.
Welcome in, everybody. Don't adjust that radio dial. It is local and live sports talk for you here on a Monday. It's our special season finale. Season 3 coming to a wrap is Super Bowl 59. Wrapped up last night with the Philadelphia Eagles coming away with a 40-22 win on top of the Kansas City Chiefs. We had a lot of things going on last week that led to us postponing what was supposed to be our season finale, but this is kind of fun at the same time in that we actually get to recap Super Bowl 59. In years past, we have just wrapped things up with our final show before the Super Bowl and then don't get to talk about it afterwards, which sometimes can be a little frustrating. Now we get to go in and go big on recapping Super Bowl 59. So here you go. It's our final one of the season. We'll take a couple of months off and then start really evaluating how we want to continue going with our local programming here on The Score. But it'll be our final one for this season, and we would hope that you could be a big part of it with us. Join us on the radio by giving us a call at 541-673-5551. You can join us here in the studio by calling in and sharing your thoughts on last night's game. Or you can hit us up on our YouTube channel. Search 1490 The Score on YouTube. You'll find the live broadcast of the program there, and you can chime in on the chat and let us know what you're thinking when it comes to Super Bowl 59, the Eagles getting the win, the Chiefs' three-peat chances were dashed. What is the future for those Kansas City Chiefs? It's all just doom and gloom now for Kansas City fans everywhere, right? So there's a lot to get to. Offseason is now upon us. We had a lot of other things. I mean, obviously the Super Bowl is going to be our big topic today, but there's some coaching stuff with the Oregon Ducks that has come out. We had the NFL awards that came out. Offseason now is here, so the draft is kind of one of the big next focus when it comes to the NFL, and that kind of slides over to college football as well because we're watching all the guys that we watched at college now looking to go and become professionals. So a ton to get to here today, and you're more than welcome to join us and share your thoughts. We've got open phone lines the entire way at 541-673-5551. All right, before we really dive into it, Super Bowl 59 last night, what was your viewing setup? Where were you? How'd you watch the game last night?
I watched it at my own apartment. Just kind of solo bowled it myself.
Solo bowled.
Solo bowled.
I like that.
Just stayed at home. Sat on my couch, watched the game. Had a beer from North 40. I went and picked up some beer from Sherm's and got some nice craft local beer.
Okay.
And then I got a pizza from Abby's. So that was my first time going to Abby's in Roseburg.
Not your first time at an Abby's, but your first time in Roseburg?
Well, so I went to an Abby's once last summer. I got like a slice of pizza when I was down calling the docks in Medford. I went with Bill Biddle. We went to Abby's for like a slice right after.
You hadn't been to like Abby's up in Eugene?
No, never. So like that was like the only time I had ever been to Abby's. I didn't even know that Abby's was a Roseburg company up until I moved here. And, it was Super Bowl, so I figured, this is the time to order a pizza. Abby's is a little bit more expensive than like what I normally get, which is like Domino's or Little Caesars, if I'm going to go and order a pizza.
Yeah.
It's not as good as what Abby's puts out, but
sure.
it is definitely cheaper. And so I thought, you know what? This is the time. Like, Abby's is from Roseburg. I want to go to the original location, order a pizza. And so I got a pizza from Abby's, got a nice local craft beer from North 40, and sat at home, watched the game, and honestly, kind of drifted off in the second half. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, me
Not
too.
gonna lie.
I missed both touchdowns in the third quarter because I fell asleep on the couch.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I dozed off.
I didn't fall asleep at all, but I definitely was like,
nodding.
And there was like part of me that was like, you know, Knight, you need to like stay focused because we need to talk about this tomorrow.
Same here.
And then the other thing is that like, the game was such a snooze fest, and then I typically you go to your phone, like you'll like start drifting towards your phone, and then the commercials would start. Then I was like, all right, I need to like pay attention because we're going to talk about the commercials tomorrow, I'm sure. But I still found myself just dozing off. Like, it just wasn't a fun, exciting Super Bowl. It wasn't what I was hoping for. Even before the game, I just told my friends, I was like, if it's going to be a blowout, it's going to be a blowout, but at least make it, like, exciting. Like, I don't want, like, this to be, like, the Rams versus Patriots Super Bowl that was also just, like, a snooze fest. That was because there was no points. But this one, it was just, like, the game was over. The Chiefs played bad, and you just kind of like accepted that the fate was already sealed with about 9 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, it was definitely one that I mean, probably a lot of reasons I'm tired. I'm 40-something now, so, there's all that going into it. But
what was your viewing experience like?
I was at home. The wife and I had intent that my wife was going to, we were going to sit down together, watch it. We, let's see. The menu was kind of appetizers. Started off with a veggie tray and mozzarella sticks, then moved to the main course of homemade boneless wings / my wife's Impossible Nuggets, things that aren't chicken, but they like chicken.
Yeah.
And nachos. And we did a thing of nachos.
Wow.
Although she never touched the nuggets because she just filled up on nachos.
I feel like you ate way
boneless.
better than me.
Oh, man. The chicken actually turned out really good. I was really happy with how that all turned out. Just, baked up some... You get these a lot, I think, from Costco, those breaded chicken nugget type things.
Every now
I
and
did
then.
some of those up.
Those are
and then
great.
I've got the Buffalo Wild Wings Parmesan garlic from that I just picked up at the store. And then I picked up some Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo sauce yesterday at the store when I went shopping for ingredients. I just tossed those in a bowl and got them all nice and coated, and man, it turned out really well. I was really happy with myself.
Dude,
so
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Like now that I'm like older, like I miss the Super Bowl parties that I went to as a kid. Because like when I was a kid, like we'd go to our friends Marcus's house, and Marcus, like his family, they would make like a gumbo and a jambalaya. And so it'd be like the gumbo for dinner and jambalaya for like kind of like the
your
lunch.
late snack
And it was
or whatever.
And it was really good. Like that's what I remember. Like growing up in like it would be like we'd go out, play like some like two-hand
backyard football,
and then come in, have like some jambalaya, and then later on in the evening have the gumbo, and there was like tons of other good food too. Really, really good. But those are my fond memories. And man, I think that's what I miss is that like, I'm kind of like starting to establish a little bit of a community here in Roseburg, but I don't have like that full like Super Bowl party to go to.
No, same here. I would have invited you over to our house, but it was really not all that exciting. I mean, maybe the food would have been all right. You might have
like
enjoyed
what
it,
I felt like the same thing about you. I was like, oh, I just like got a pizza.
Yeah, it was like you would have just been you and me, and you would have had to sit back there in the. My wife actually fell asleep through the entire first half. Yeah, didn't watch anything. And then after eating and halftime, she was like, "Do you care if I go to the other room and watch something else?" Because she's deep in a show that she's binging right now, and so she really wanted to just go back and follow that. So
I mean, it was probably more entertaining than
I'm sure.
The game.
I mean, like I said, I fell asleep in the third quarter. Like I was telling myself, like, gotta focus, and I missed the. Devontae Smith touchdown, and I missed the Philadelphia touchdown. Who would that? That was Worthy.
You mean the Kansas City touchdown?
No, Kansas City. No, Worthy had the last one.
Yeah.
Who had Kansas City's first touchdown?
DeAndre Hopkins, right? Or no. Worthy had two touchdowns. So he had like the first touchdown, and then he had the one at the very end.
Yeah, I missed the first one. So, it definitely was a game that didn't play out the way.
Well, the thing is that like you saw that it was 24-0 at halftime, and everybody expected the Chiefs just to come out there and swing in the second half. They got the ball back to start, and they didn't. And it just felt like once the Chiefs gave the ball back to the Eagles, it was pretty much over at that point. The Eagles went down, kicked a field goal. It's 27-0, and things felt pretty grim at that point for the Chiefs, and they couldn't do anything offensively. I think it was like late in the third quarter they finally got their first play past midfield.
We will dive into that as we get into it here. Let's get into the game. It was one that didn't play out probably as anyone really expected. It was a game that dominated from start to finish by Philadelphia and their just fantastic defense. Let's get into it. It was Super Bowl 59. Crack that cold one. It's the day after. It's your hangover burger day, according to Carl's Jr.
Yeah, you get a free hangover burger?
Yeah, I mean, it looked good, but burgers always look great in commercials. Then you
shout out Starbucks, free coffee too.
Oh, there you go. That's the way to go. All right, crack a cold one, whether cold brew, cold drink, if you're still going, hair of the dog, whatever it may be, let's get this tailgate party started.
Nothing gets a tailgate party going like a nice cold beverage. So let's crack one open and kick off today's show with our top story.
Let's get ready for dodgeball!
Nice.
Thank you, Jerry Cruz. Appreciate that. That's not the right clip. What happened to my clip here?
I mean, for all of the crap that we gave the Pro Bowl, that might have been more entertaining than the Super Bowl.
All right, here we go. This is it.
It's a 3rd and 16 for the Chiefs, and a shotgun snap from their own 24, rolling out of the pocket. Mahomes lines right. It's intercepted at the 40, and picked off by DeGene, who comes to the near side, the 30. Got it back at the 20, breaks the tackle, the 10, the 5, to the pylon. Touchdown! Eagles have got a pick 6. Shotgun snap to Hurts, left tackle block, line drive throw, caught on the 5. A.J. Brown hits the pylon, far side. Touchdown, Philadelphia! They are destroying the Chiefs. In the pistol, on the NFL logo, from the Kansas City 46, Eagles take over 1st and 10. The shotgun snap, the fake handoff, and Hurts drops back 5, winds up, long arching pass, down the middle. It's caught over the shoulder in the end zone. Touchdown, Smith! And that may make it insurmountable. 1st and 10 with the shotgun snap to Mahomes. Crumbling pocket hit. Ball charged free. It's loose. The Eagles trying to get it, and they have on a fumble by Mahomes. His 3rd turnover. Kick it again to an E, and that's it. The clock will continue to go down from 20 seconds. So if Super Bowl 52 was framed as the Philly special, this has got to be Eagle voodoo here in New Orleans as they found the magic spell on the 2-time defending champion Chiefs, stopping them with an incredible performance. The bench is empty, the teams converge, and this one is over. And the Eagles have beaten the Chiefs convincingly in Super Bowl 59, 40-22.
One thing that I've talked to everyone about is the importance of team football together. Everyone achieves more. And even bigger, the selflessness that everyone has to have a level of selflessness to achieve great things as a group and as a unit and be truly committed to what the mission is, and that's winning.
Well, that was Kevin Harlan on Westwood One with the highlights from Super Bowl 59.
He is so good.
A game you heard right here on the score. Also, Jalen Hurts in his press conference he had this morning recapping yesterday's team effort for the Philadelphia Eagles. I was going to say, one of the things that stands out to me, Kevin Harlan's so good. I mean, sometimes I almost wonder if he's just, too descriptive, but, that's the whole point, obviously, as a radio broadcaster, but it's just, sometimes it's just so much that he is able to just cover in such a short period of time. It's just holy smokes, man,
he has just
take a breath.
Great vocabulary.
Yeah, he does.
And, the way that he fits these large words into his broadcast are just incredible. And just the emotion that he has. It fires you up. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see me smiling because every time he gets a big call, it just makes you really excited. And I think that's what fires me up as a broadcaster is seeing that. John Gruden gets fired up about football. I get fired up about broadcasters having good calls.
Well, who doesn't? And everybody in this room does.
Yeah.
So, obviously, what interest is in that group there of highlights. I mean, it didn't take long. That was, a couple of touchdowns into the game. He's already saying they're destroying the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That might be insurmountable. It felt that way from the, not from the get-go, but very early on in this game. It felt as if the Chiefs were just outmanned. What stood out to you as you look back on this one? We know, look, it wasn't maybe the most exciting from start to end Super Bowl because it was definitely one-sided. But what stood out to you when you think back on Super Bowl 59?
I think that just what stood out to me was just the relentlessness from the Eagles defense from the get-go. I mean, you saw it on the opening drive. Mahomes on third down has to scramble outside of the pocket, throws it into double coverage, almost throws an interception, and that just kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. Philly was able to dominate defensively all throughout. I think Mahomes was held under 70 yards for a majority of the first half, if not all of the first half of that game. It took him a while. I mean, he finished with 3 touchdowns and 257 yards. I'd say about 200 of those yards, it felt like, came after the midway point in the second quarter. Maybe even in the second half, he probably threw for 150. You'd have to think. It just felt like the defense controlled from the get-go. The offense couldn't get the ball past midfield until the second half, and
here
the Eagles defense was able to just control with a couple of turnovers.
First half numbers, Mahomes 3 for 13 for 33 yards.
That's what I thought.
And on the ground, they had a total of 3 yards rushing for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean,
and honestly, you got to give credit to the Chiefs defense because even though you look up and you see it says 40 yards, they held Saquon to 57 yards on 25 carries. They did a great job on him. They did a really good job containing Saquon Barkley. If you'd have told me going into the game that Saquon Barkley would carry the ball 25 times for 57 yards and average just 2.3 yards per carry, I'd say, wow, the Chiefs won their 3rd straight Super Bowl. But Jalen Hurts was efficient. He looked good other than the one interception where he was pressured. That looked like a pretty bad throw from Hurts. But other than that, he was efficient. He was connecting with his wide receivers. He got the ball all around. They were able to control the clock. Didn't put the ball into harm's way a ton. And Mahomes was just inaccurate and pressured all the time. And it felt like this was the game that we were expecting to see from the Chiefs, but we never saw it all season long. It was all the holes, all of the gaps in the Kansas City team that just showed. In the biggest moment, in the biggest stage, it all happened at once. The floodgates opened, and Mahomes can do everything. Even though he's the best player on the field, the team didn't really help him out yesterday.
Yeah, it was amazing how one-sided this was for a team that, and you're right, Kansas City had been living by the skin of their teeth this entire season. How many one-possession games did they have? How many games were decided by 3 to 6 points?
How many times did we say, oh my gosh, Mahomes is turning the ball over again? Another interception for Patrick. How many turnovers are they going to have? They can't run the ball that efficiently at times. Their offensive line is a little bit questionable. And all of those concerns, they were able to skate through them, win in the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl, and even though there was all these glaring issues, they were able to just find a way until they couldn't.
Yeah. It is Overreaction Monday, and the fact that this was a Chiefs team that lost 2 games.
Yeah.
And
one of them was when they pulled all their starters week 17.
Yeah, exactly. So this was a team that, despite maybe some of their now what seemed like obvious flaws, this was a team that was very good despite maybe winning, just having the ball bounce their direction so many times. So it is shocking to look back at that first half of the game and realize Kansas City had 4 3-and-outs in the first half. They had 1 first down. They turned it over twice. They had 4 3-and-outs. They also had 1 drive that was 3 plays, finished with an interception, and another drive that was 1 play, had the interception. Their first drive of the game was the only drive in that first half that they had the ball more than 3 plays, and they had it for 4 plays. They got a first down in there and then ended up punting. Just ridiculous. The second half, they had 1 drive that went more than 5 plays. That is how inept this thing was. Now, granted, they had the final drive that 1 play, 50 yards to the house for the touchdown, so there is that. You mentioned that they didn't get across the 50 until the third quarter. Not just that. They didn't get across the 50 until there was 2 minutes and 33 seconds left to go in the third quarter when they finally get across midfield. I think what stands out, obviously the defense stands out. Obviously the efficiency of Jalen Hurts. He rushed 11 times for 72 yards and a touchdown. And I think the interesting thing, not that I ever think that Patrick Mahomes was flustered or that the moment was too big for him. I think the entire Chiefs were caught off guard somehow going into this match. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this, had 2 weeks to look at what Philadelphia does, and I don't think Philadelphia did anything so exotic or different than they had all season that it would have completely caught Kansas City off guard. But they just came out and played so well that Kansas City was on its heels from the get-go and all the way through and had no answer for what they were doing on defense. But Jalen Hurts, you mentioned that interception, maybe a ill-advised throw under some pressure off his back foot, had double coverage down there. He throws an interception. Did that seem to throw him off at all?
Not at all.
He didn't seem to be fazed whatsoever. Frustrated, but regrouped, went back out there. And what did Philadelphia do after that interception? Field goal. They did punt, but then they got a touchdown in the end of the half. Then field goal, touchdown, field goal to finish out the game.
And at that point, they were just controlling the clock. They didn't care about kicking the field goals or scoring touchdowns. They just wanted to kill some clock and put more points on the board, and they were already in control.
There was one point there that Jake Elliott, the kicker for Philadelphia, had more points than the Kansas City Chiefs did until late in that ball game. And obviously, there's been talked a ton, but they were pressuring Mahomes the entire game,
and they didn't even
a single blitz, which is crazy.
Mahomes was sacked 6 times during the game. Plus, you had the 2 interceptions where he was heavily pressured. Plus, numerous other times where he was scrambling for his life, threw the ball downfield, and they knocked it away. Everything about what the Eagles did defensively was impressive. The defensive line depth was outstanding, and I think that going into it, and we were talking about it a little bit on Friday right after the Roseburg basketball game, is we thought that the Eagles had the roster to do what they exactly did against the Chiefs. We just didn't necessarily have the complete faith that they would be able to do it because the Chiefs always somehow find a way.
Right? That was their season. Just everything seemed to go their way.
Exactly.
They just found a way to do it.
And I hate to bring the Raiders into this, not really, because I like. No,
you love talking about the Raiders.
But when the Raiders beat the Chiefs, the last time the Chiefs lost a game at home, it was when the Raiders beat them on Christmas last year in Kansas City. And what happened in that game was Max Crosby got into the backfield and caused a lot of pressure towards Patrick Mahomes, and he threw a couple of interceptions. What exactly happened for the Eagles? Their defensive line was able to get to the quarterback and force Mahomes to throw ill-advised passes, and he threw a couple of big interceptions, a pick six and then an interception in their own territory, and the Eagles are able to have a big swing. It wasn't like the defense played bad for Kansas City. It's just that the offense was so inept, they couldn't move the ball. The defense for Kansas City was on the field the entirety of the first half, and they had a short field on one of the trips, plus they had already given them an extra 7 points. So if you looked at what the defense did in the first half for Kansas City, if you look up and it's 24-0, but you got to factor in that 14 of those points were probably because of the offense, at least 7 of them were because of the offense. You probably are in a pretty good spot if you're Kansas City. You get the ball back to start the second half and you do nothing with it. And that's where they really lost the game. 24-0, you score a quick touchdown on that first drive. It's 24-7. You're still kind of in it. You're still in it. You can come back from
shut out in the first half. That's a backbreaker right there. Yeah. And it just didn't change in the second half. Just no way of slowing down that offense.
And like you said, it felt like they were confused. They didn't expect that.
Yeah, it was really weird to see. I'm sure like everybody, just the number of times you looked up and went, whoa, they're getting to Patrick Mahomes again? What is going on here? And then to find out the fact that not a single blitz throughout that entire game.
It felt a lot.
Really crazy.
It felt a lot like the Rose Bowl. It felt a lot like Oregon, Ohio State.
You mentioned that. I was thinking of you're like, certain things that we were thinking about all season, but it just never really Oregon went undefeated all year, but we had concerns about this or concerns about that, and then just this biggest game of the season hits, and you're like, it just all falls apart.
Yeah, no, it's the exact same
clock
thing.
hit midnight.
It was the same thing because it was like we were talking about the Chiefs. It's like, oh, the offensive line. I don't know if they can do it. Mahomes is throwing more interceptions this season. Same thing with the Ducks. It was like, the Ducks have really shown the tendency that they can go 3 and out on an offensive drive, and if they string together a couple of early 3 and outs, then it might get out of hand against a team like Ohio State, who has the skill and talent necessary to control a game that way, and that's exactly what Ohio State did in the Rose Bowl, and we just kept on, excusing Oregon's tendency to go 3 and out and the offensive struggles because they were winning games.
Yeah. It was an unexpected kind of way that things played out in the Super Bowl yesterday in New Orleans. What were your thoughts as the game was unfurling in front of us on the TV? We would love to hear from you. We will talk all of the outside noise around the Super Bowl, the commercials, the halftime show, all of those fun things. We'll get into that as the show progresses here. It's our Season 3 finale of the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show presented by our friends at BTB Moving. So if you've got thoughts, we want to hear from you. 541-673-5551 is the number. 541-673-5551. Chime in with us there on the phone line, or you can hit us up on the YouTube channel. Search 1490 The Score on YouTube. Find us there. We're streaming the show right now. You can see our lovely faces here on this Monday, and you can comment in the comment section, which not Joey's dad chiming in. This will be Knight's dad. He's not my dad.
You're not my dad.
No. Does the old cliche defense wins championship ring true once again? In fact, actually, the clip that I used of Jalen Hurts there, right after I cut it off because we had gotten to 2 minutes in the audio for the cold open here, the next thing he says is the old cliche rings true, basically, is that defense wins championships, which I want to ask this question. We'll get to this a little later because, actually, no, this is what I wanted to bring up in the next segment. Does this change the mindset going into the NFL draft? Asking for a friend whose team has the number 1 overall pick.
I wonder who that friend would be.
Yeah, right? Does this change the mindset going into the NFL draft this year? I have some questions about that. And not Joey's dad on YouTube asking, isn't it nice to not have a day where we're sitting here talking about the referees and the Kansas City Chiefs winning? Yeah. It's the refs. I
mean, the refs showed out in that first drive.
They definitely had moments where I didn't agree with the calls, but did the refs have anything to do with this game? Not whatsoever.
Not at all. But early on,
that first drive,
that first pass interference on A.J. Brown.
And you know what? That freaking screwed me. I would have had me and most of the rest of the country that bought in on the DraftKings happy hour of A.J. Brown and Xavier Worthy both going for 50 yards plus receiving. That catch getting negated screwed me over with A.J. Brown. Yeah. He finished like 7 yards shy. Brutal. All right, we'll get to a break. Does this maybe... The NFL seems like it's always a reactionary league, right? Somebody does something and wins a title, then everybody else wants to do it. Is defense maybe going to have its heyday once again in the NFL? Let's discuss when we come back here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving, here on The Score. Now we get you a sports update with Knight Jarecki.
For your Score Sports Update, I'm Knight Jarecki. Coming up today in local sports, it's a top 10 showdown in the Class 3A girls basketball rankings. The number 10 Sutherland girls host number 5 Cascade Christian in a non-league contest. The Bulldogs lost to the Challengers back on January 9th and will look for redemption tonight. Tonight's matchup will get underway at 6 p.m. You can tune in for coverage starting at 5:45 p.m. on I-101 FM. Dan Bain has the call. Also, the Roseburg wrestling team is headed to Grants Pass for a makeup duel against the Cavemen. The contest was postponed due to winter weather last week. The varsity duel gets underway at 7 p.m. tonight. In college hoops, the Oregon women's basketball team hosted number 1 UCLA yesterday and battled with the Bruins for 4 quarters before ultimately falling 62-52 at Matthew Knight Arena. UCLA remained undefeated on the season by holding off Oregon's upset bid. The Ducks were trailing by just 2 points early in the second half and were down to just 7 points in the fourth quarter. The Ducks held the Bruins to their lowest scoring total this season. Nani Falatea had 19 points to lead the Ducks, and Deja Kelly added 14 points. The Oregon women will host rival Washington on Wednesday. In the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers saw their winning streak end at 6 straight on Saturday, but will look to get back in the win column tonight as they visit the Denver Nuggets. The Blazers are just 4.5 games out of the playoff picture, with just 2 games left before the All-Star break. Today's game tips off at 6 p.m. You can tune in for coverage starting at 5 p.m. on The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM. And the Philadelphia Eagles ended the Kansas City Chiefs' hopes of a three-peat with a 40-22 win in the Super Bowl yesterday in New Orleans. The Eagles hounded Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes relentlessly and held the Chiefs scoreless in the first half, while the Philadelphia Eagles built a 24-point advantage.
Whether it's across town or across the state, moving is always a chore. So let BTB Moving help with your next move. BTB Moving is a labor-only company offering statewide services such as packing and unpacking, loading and unloading, piano moving, cleaning services, and 24-hour emergency services. BTB Moving is an affordable, veteran-owned company here to help with your next move. Call 541-315-0122 or find BTB Moving on Facebook. That's BTB Moving for all your moving needs. High school hoops are back. It might be getting cold outside, but we're headed indoors where things are heating up.
At the horn, no, Roseburg wins.
Catch Roseburg basketball games all season long on The Score. The Indians will battle it out in the Southwest Conference for a shot at the postseason. Find our broadcast schedule at 541radio.com and on the 541 Radio app. And tune in for Roseburg basketball on The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM, or watch the live video simulcast at 541radio.com.
Come hang out at our tailgate party. Give us a call at 541-673-5551 or send us your thoughts on the 541 Radio app or find us on Twitter at KSKR The Score.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here on this Monday for our season finale of the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, wrapping up Season 3 of the program. Don't worry, we'll be back eventually. We'll figure out the timeline going forward. As sometime in August, we'll be kicking things off, I'm sure. And we will get ready for next football season there. It is the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show. It has been presented all season long by BTB Moving. They provide labor services for your moving needs. Veteran-owned, affordable, dependable, efficient, and careful. They've got senior and veteran discounts available. Book now at 541-315-0122 or find them on Facebook at BTB Moving. We appreciate their sponsorship of the program. Boy. So defense was all the rage, all the talk in that game for the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. I mean, Jalen Hurts, you got to still have a quarterback in the NFL, but a lot of people now looking at
you? Yeah, you have to play a quarterback, Joey?
I mean, you've got to have a quarterback to win a championship.
Yes.
But defense really took center stage yesterday. And, I mean, like we've, not Joey's dad on YouTube there, comments. Defense wins championships. We heard Jalen Hurts say that in his one of his press conferences. It obviously is the talk of what that game was and how well Philly's defense played against Kansas City, which is a very explosive offense in many cases. Mm-hmm. Does this change the mindset going forward? Kind of carrying this forward. Yeah, yesterday we watched the Super Bowl. Now carrying it forward. The NFL draft. Let me look at my notes here because I have it written down. The NFL draft is, it's on these notes, April 24th in Green Bay. So we're a little ways away. Mm-hmm. One of the big names is the guy from Penn State.
Abdul Carter.
He's going to be a top 10 pick, right?
He's going to be probably a top 5 pick.
Yeah, exactly. Should he be the number 1 overall pick if defense can win you championships?
Well, here's my take.
I'm asking because my Tennessee Titans now have the number 1 overall pick.
I understand that.
In a year, I think the question is multi-layered here, but in a year where there's not a stud quarterback option to try and take, because the Titans need an answer at quarterback.
Well, that's the question, is how confident are you rolling with Will Levis for another season?
I mean, if it shores up some things on there's a lot of holes on the roster
No,
for the Titans.
I don't care about the defense. We'll get to that in a second. I'm just asking you straight up. Do you have confidence rolling into next season with Will Levis as your starting quarterback?
No.
So then you're...
But do I have more confidence with Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward? I mean, if there's... I am definitely more of the best player available mindset.
Yeah.
And if you can get like number one is a guy that you are hoping will be a generational talent, right? A guy that changes the game at his position. And we just saw a defense that had no blitzes, that was able to get to the quarterback and make life difficult for the best quarterback in the league right now. I don't think there's any reason to waffle on whether or not Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. Obviously, we'll discuss the whole GOAT conversation later, but right now, he's the best quarterback in the league. And Philadelphia just made him look silly out there. They were able to do things that teams don't do to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. If you can find a guy, if you think, look, I don't know, I'm not a scout or talent evaluation guy. I'm not getting paid to do that job. But if you think that Abdul Carter could be that type of defender, which we watched him in the Big Ten championship game against Oregon. We watched him all season long with Penn State. He feels like a guy that can be a game wrecker on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe you have to take it, maybe look to go somewhere other than the guy easy answer of quarterback at number one.
Well, is he the guy that you'd want? Because the other option you have if you don't want to move and draft a quarterback is, would you rather have Travis Hunter too? Because you could have Travis Hunter and then you could decide if you want to play him offensively, defensively, playing both sides. Like, could he make an impact just the same way that Abdul Carter can? Potentially, yeah. And I think,
he would have to be a shutdown corner of the likes of what we just saw out of, as a rookie out of Cooper DeJean. Right? Yeah. Like, he would have to be a shutdown guy like that. Like,
yeah,
you need
right away. And he might be that guy. The question is do you want to draft him or do you want to draft Abdul Carter? And honestly, you can't go wrong either way. The question that you would have, though, is would you rather roll into next season, have Abdul Carter, and try to build upon that up until next season, and then, there's no guarantees you're going to be able to draft a quarterback next year.
No.
Or do you sign a quarterback? Do you want to take a chance on somebody like a Sam Darnold and then draft Abdul Carter number one? Or would you rather, like, if you're content to draft Abdul Carter or not draft a quarterback, why keep the number one pick? Why not try to trade down?
That would probably be the smartest move for a GM, to find a way to get assets, move back, and take a guy like Abdul Carter possibly later in that top 5, top 10, and try to find a way to do that. Find somebody that might be in that top 5 that values the quarterback position, because everybody is willing to spend to try and find a quarterback that's going to be the franchise guy. I'm not sure if I totally believe in either of the two top quarterbacks in this year's draft to be that long-term franchise guy. I bet there's got to be someone in this top 15 that is a franchise player, right? The odds are that somebody in there will be.
Here's the other thing, too, and this is why I love Abdul Carter, and I think he's a very, very good prospect, and he's going to be like a generational type of defensive lineman. But this is also like an insanely deep defensive line class. Mm-hmm. Like the drop off between like Abdul Carter and the number 2 defensive lineman, which would probably be like Mason Graham, isn't very high. Like there's not a big drop off between them two. Obviously, Carter's a little bit better, but Graham is like right there as well, and the rest of the defensive ends in this class. Very good class. When you look at Mykel Williams even further down the draft board. The difference, though, like with the quarterbacks from like Cam Ward to like the number 2 quarterback, I think there's a much bigger gap.
Did you read Not Joey's dad's comment before you asked me about signing Sam Darnold? Because you two just both asked the exact same question. Would you be okay signing Sam Darnold and drafting Abdul Carter?
I didn't. No, because that's just kind of where things are at. Because that's what a lot of teams are saying. Is like, honestly, should you get like a Sam Darnold? Which, by the way, it sounds like Sam Darnold's going to be going back to Minnesota, based on the fact that I believe it was Kevin O'Connell during his like speech for like Coach of the Year, he said like, we're like really thrilled to have Sam come back next year. Like, we're really building something with Sam around. It sounds like they're leaning towards that, which we'll probably get into whether or not they should franchise tag him. But that certainly is an appealing option, like maybe going and getting a Sam Darnold.
See, like I almost would be willing to run it back with Will Levis, see if he can make improvements, and see where one more year, like
what's
what's the harm of giving him a chance to prove, look, I can evolve, I can grow as a quarterback, because he has shown the capability at times to be.
When was he at his best? When he was throwing to DeAndre Hopkins, right?
Yeah, I mean, like when he had weapons.
When he
had guys to throw the football.
Who are his top options?
Like I told you, there are a lot of holes on this Tennessee Titans roster going into next year. But like, this is a shallow draft when it comes to quarterbacks. Maybe take a risk on a guy, round day 2, maybe day 3. Add a quarterback to the roster, see what happens. If you fall in love with a guy that's later in, keep Will Levis. Sam Darnold a long-term solution for, a team like Tennessee? Is he a long-term solution for maybe a team like Minnesota? Maybe not long-term, but the next couple of years to continue to allow J.J. McCarthy to develop as the next guy. Maybe a 2, 3, 4-year guy for Sam Darnold. But he has weapons there. You have Jordan Addison. You have Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
I'm confusing the two top wide receivers in the league.
Both LSU guys.
Yeah, you've got weapons and talent on that roster. Like you said, Tennessee doesn't have wide receivers. Tennessee has a lot of holes to fill on that offensive side. So maybe continue to see if Will Levis can show some sort of sign of being a guy that sticks around in the NFL. Or maybe see if you can develop a late-round draft pick later on in the draft that you pick up this year. But I don't think you need to – I think I would take the option at number 1 or trading down and going somewhere else in the draft to try and fill somewhere else on your roster with a guy that isn't going to be the top 5 because – of the position he plays, but could be a generational guy for that team. That would be my mindset going into this draft for the Titans.
If I'm the Titans, I would try my best to trade down. That's honestly where I'm at. Because based on just talking to you right now, it sounds like you guys have a lot of holes, and the only way to fill those holes is to draft players.
Yeah,
and it doesn't feel like, for you at least as a Titans fan, it doesn't feel like you're confident enough drafting a quarterback number 1. Even if you draft Abdul Carter, it still feels like you have a lot of holes, and it sounds like the holes are offensive, not necessarily defensive on this Titans team.
Yeah, the Titans defense was playing well last year.
So it might sound like the best option for you would be to try to trade down, get some draft capital, and then use those draft picks on some offensive weapons, whether that be an offensive lineman, whether that be, taking a chance on a tight end like Tyler Warren. We saw what the Raiders did this year when they got a tight end like Brock Bowers and what they were able to do with a dynamic weapon like that at the tight end room.
And a tight end could be a quarterback that isn't maybe necessarily the best or doesn't have the most weapons around him. A tight end could be a quarterback's best friend.
Well, and not only that, but Tyler Warren also played quarterback in high school, and they threw him out there a few times this year to
let's start spicing up the playbook just a little bit there.
Get him and have him as your Taysom Hill type of back. Utilize him in a different way. I mean, who knows? Maybe you trade down and you get a couple of top 10 picks. If you were to get that sort of situation, or maybe you get a couple of second-round picks and you get a really good wide receiver, good tight end, you get maybe a running back within the first 3 rounds. If you get an extra draft pick, and all of a sudden the Titans have revamped the offense a little bit to help out Will Levis, because it sounds like the big issue with Will Levis this year, at least watching from an outsider's point of view, it felt like it was just the turnovers. Yeah. It was every single game.
Decision-making is a little skeptical.
Have a little bit of questionable calls on a turnover or two, whether that be just lunging and diving or throwing an interception. But it didn't feel like it was necessarily because it was all on him.
I think it's a lot to do between the years rather than the actual abilities of Will Levis. Definitely could be your case.
Yeah,
and look, they've got a new GM this year. They just made the change there, so it'll be interesting to see how the GM approaches the upcoming offseason for the Tennessee Titans. The offseason, you've got Scouting Combine coming up later this month, February 24th through the 3rd. We'll start to get to see maybe what teams are thinking about some of these draft-eligible targets. Franchise tag deadline is March 4th, so we'll see what guys like you mentioned a Sam Darnold or maybe some of these other guys, what they might teams might do. Free agency negotiations open March 10th. Signing period for free agents March 12th. That could be very interesting, and on some of those changes coming up, and then the draft April 24th through the 26th in Green Bay. So. Did you? I know I reeled into all that. It seemed like you had one thought you were going to get to.
It's really tough because I feel like every time you watch Will Levis throw the ball, not in game, but outside of the game, it's like the most incredible spiral you've ever seen. A big, strong arm. You get really excited.
I mean, I just feel for the guy because he's got to find a reason to stay relevant for the Mayo contract he's got. I just keep seeing, well, I haven't seen him lately, but I was seeing just so many commercials of Will Levis as your Mayo-tivation commercials. And I kept thinking, how long is this deal going to last? How long can they keep a quarterback who is really looking like his time in the NFL may not last very long? How long does it? I don't even remember what Mayo company it is. I just know that he was doing deals for some sort of Mayo company because of all of his love.
Speaking of Mayo, I thought that was the best commercial of the Super Bowl. We can get into that on the other after this break.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a hot take right there. Commercials conversation will be coming up on the program here, but I wanted to throw out some interesting tidbits, little trivial knowledge from the Super Bowl that I kept coming across here since the game wrapped up last night. We'll do some odd news and notes kind of things from the Super Bowl as we wrap up hour number 1 here on the season finale of the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show. It's presented by our friends at BTB Moving.
Good afternoon with the Score News Update. I'm Knight Jarecki. A cold weather advisory is in effect from 10 p.m. tonight through 9 a.m. on Wednesday for much of southern Oregon. Forecasters at the National Weather Service said very cold temperatures ranging from 15 to 25 degrees are expected. The advisory area includes central Douglas County and its eastern foothills, Josephine and Jackson counties, eastern Curry County, the south central and southern Oregon Cascades, the Klamath Basin, and the surrounding areas. It applies to the communities of Roseburg, Grants Pass, Medford, Cave Junction, Crater Lake, Diamond Lake, and nearby locations. You can listen to News Radio 93.9 FM and 1240 KQEN and check out 541radio.com to stay connected with updated weather information. And the United Community Action Network's Roseburg Warming Center has been activated for tonight. Warm meals, shelter, and resources will be available. The center has moved to a temporary location at the James D. Myers Activity Center at 990 West Stand Street. Check-in is tonight from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. In sports, yesterday, the Oregon women's basketball team hosted number 1 UCLA, and they battled the Bruins for 4 quarters before ultimately falling 62-52 at Matthew Knight Arena. UCLA remained undefeated on the season by holding off Oregon's upset bid, as the Ducks were trailing by just 2 points early in the second half and were down to just 7 points in the fourth quarter. The Oregon women will host rival Washington on Wednesday. And yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles ended the Kansas City Chiefs' hopes of a three-peat with a 40-22 win in Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. It was the second championship for the Eagles. Taking a look at the weather today, mostly sunny with a high near 42 degrees. Tonight, patchy fog after 1 a.m., otherwise partly cloudy with a low around 26 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high near 42 and a low around 21 degrees. News and information is available 24/7 at 541radio.com. I'm Nate Jarecki, here on The Score.
Hi, this is Barbara with Fisher's Hearth & Home. Add beauty, warmth, and value to your home with a Vermont Castings wood stove. Its traditional cast iron design will bring you years of enjoyment. An adopted animal from Soul to Soul Animal Rescue would love to curl up by the fire too. Bulette is a 9-year-old Lopso Opso. Her elderly owner could no longer care for her and was going to put her down when our vet intervened and asked us to help, when then discovered she is diabetic. But this girl will come and beg you for her shot because she knows as soon as she gets that tiny little shot, she gets a piece of chicken, and she loves food as much as she loves squeaky toys. She would do best as an only pet. But don't think this girl just wants to lay around and sleep. She loves car rides and walks and loves her human. And she's just needing to find herself a new companion. If you think you're just right to be Bulette's new companion, visit soul2soular.org. If you're looking to stay warm with the Vermont Castings, visit Fisher's Hearth and Home, corner of Llewellyn and Harvard.
Fridays are loaded with football this fall on The Score, and you're listening to the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show.
That's right, you are. It's brought to you by BTB Moving. Along with Knight Jarecki, I'm Joey Keeran. Happy to be talking with you here on this Monday. I know it's a different day than normal. We had, Knight really didn't have much of a voice last Friday. Plus, we had a live remote going on for one of the other stations that was just, Friday was a
we had
jumbled
the Sportsman
mess.
show going on in town.
It was a jumbled mess on Friday. So we kind of decided the easiest and probably the most effective way to try and handle it all was to just turn today into our Super Bowl 59 recap as well as our season finale for the show.
Dude, I got to tell you, watching Patrick Mahomes on the sideline yesterday was like me last Wednesday. Like, he was just lost, confused, didn't know what to do. That's how I felt without a voice. I just did not know what to do with myself. It's so hard losing your voice as a broadcaster because you use your voice every single day for work, even just outside of work, just being a friendly person, being a nice person, even like going to the store and, you get a Powerade and at least I'm the type of person that's always like, hey, how's your day going? Asking, the checkout person to just be a nice person and not being able to do that.
You're the reason I use the self-checkout. Just let's keep it moving here. Come
really?
on now.
Jeez.
Yeah. So super antisocial. Joey's just not somebody you want to run into in public.
I do.
Not true.
I do enjoy the self-checkout for the speed.
Yes.
But just if you have a lot of groceries or other certain things, I always like interacting with people.
Okay.
No, not a fan of that.
No, I don't.
Are we not in the favor of telling people, asking them how their day's going?
I don't mind that. No, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know.
Okay. We'll see you at the self-checkout line.
I mean, yeah, I usually am just trying to get in and get out of the way of things. So, looking back at Super Bowl 59, been obviously the game itself lopsided, maybe not that interesting. Really definitely had some issues paying attention in the third quarter. Yeah. I was watching the back of my eyelids unexpectedly a couple of times. Knight was trying to stay with it as well. But if you maybe didn't follow all of what was going on, you might have missed some interesting little tidbits here that I came across as I've been kind of, just watching everything going on ever since. Devonta Smith had a big touchdown for Philadelphia in that game. Becomes the first player from Alabama drafted to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
What?
No player drafted from Alabama. So drafted, played at Alabama and then was drafted in the NFL. No player had ever scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl from Alabama.
That sounds so
completely
crazy.
Unbelievable, right?
That sounds unbelievable.
Like the first name that popped into my head was Derrick Henry, and then I remembered he hasn't played in the Super Bowl.
Well, I was thinking like it has to be scored a touchdown. Because Jalen Hurts.
Well, Hurts doesn't count as an Alabama player because he wasn't at Alabama when he got drafted. He got drafted from Oklahoma.
Okay. I feel like that's kind of threading the needle a little bit.
Apparently, that's what the qualifications were.
But is it scoring a touchdown or throwing a touchdown? Because my mind goes to Ken Stabler. Did Ken Stabler throw a touchdown in a Super Bowl?
I would assume he probably did, but he didn't score it.
So
just if you're tabulating somebody's points that they've scored in a season. If you score a touchdown, you get 6 points. If you throw a touchdown, you don't get those points. Okay. You didn't score the touchdown. If you're betting on touchdown scored, you don't get a touchdown because you threw it. You got to be the guy that crosses the plane with the football in your hands.
That is wild to think about. Because the other person I thought of is like Julio Jones, but he didn't score apparently in the 28-3 Super Bowl.
Also, Devonta Smith becomes just the fifth player all time in history to win a Heisman, a national championship, and a Super Bowl title.
Wow.
Only 5 players ever, which is kind of crazy.
Do you have the other 5 players?
I don't. I saw somebody listed it off at one point, but I didn't note that one. So, Cooper DeJean he finished his rookie year with more touchdowns scored than allowed. He did not allow a touchdown on 78 targets across 19 games this year, and he returned his first career interception for a touchdown in Super Bowl 59. Couple of interesting little tidbits from that game there. Also noted the interception he returned for a touchdown. I was in the process of like getting our food ready for halftime, so I was in the kitchen, and you can kind of like if you bend down, you can watch underneath the cabinets and see the TV. I just stepped around the edge to get full view of the TV as Patrick Mahomes and the offense were going out there. I had a bet that both quarterbacks would throw an interception in this one. At this point, Hurts had thrown his interception. Mahomes hadn't thrown one yet. I step around the counters, and he's getting ready behind center, and I say to my wife, all right, let's throw an interception here. Boom! Interception! Return touchdown! I was so pumped. I couldn't believe I called it right then and there. I scared the rabbit just a little bit. She went and hid behind the TV because I was a little too excited about a pick 6 thrown in the Super Bowl.
Dude.
I was happy.
I was pretty stoked too, and
I'm sure there were quite a few people that were.
It was a great moment for white men across America seeing Cooper DeJean. The reasoning why is because there literally hasn't been a white cornerback in the NFL since 2002. That is
crazy.
That is the first time in my life I've seen a white cornerback pick off a pass. I like my entire life. I was born in 2002. Think about that.
It is a weird thing to think about, but when you point it out, it does seem extremely true. So, yeah, there is that.
Jason Sehorn, all the way back.
And I'm very happy to know that I actually picked that name out.
Yeah, you didn't know that stat until
I didn't know that stat, but when you mentioned it, that was the first name that popped in my head as what could have been the last white cornerback in the NFL.
So there was kind of one. So Troy Apke,
that's not a name I know.
Okay. Well, you might remember the story. He was the white dude at the combine that ran like the 4.32.
Okay.
And Deion Sanders was like, "Oh, he can run."
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that quote.
Yeah. So he was drafted as a cornerback, but he never played a game as a corner. They moved him immediately to safety, which is the natural progression for any white defensive back.
Apparently, that is the case. All right, that is hour number 1 of our program here today. We've got a second hour coming up. The commercials always have to be discussed. Your favorites, your least favorites, we'd love to hear that. Knight has kind of an interest. I'm surprised he teased a little bit here. I'm surprised on that. We'll discuss that and plenty more. Some off-season moves coming up for college football as well for your Oregon Ducks. We'll discuss when we come back. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show here on The Score.
For your Score Sports Update, I'm Knight Jarecki. Coming up today in local sports, it's a top 10 showdown in the Class 3A girls basketball rankings. The number 10 Sutherland girls host number 5 Cascade Christian in a non-league contest. The Bulldogs lost to the Challengers back on January 9th and will look for redemption tonight. Tonight's matchup will get underway at 6 p.m. You can tune in for coverage starting at 5:45 p.m. on I-101 FM. Dan Bain has the call. Also, the Roseburg wrestling team is headed to Grants Pass for a makeup duel against the Cavemen. The contest was postponed due to winter weather last week. The varsity duel gets underway at 7 p.m. tonight. In college hoops, the Oregon women's basketball team hosted number 1 UCLA yesterday and battled with the Bruins for 4 quarters before ultimately falling 62-52 at Matthew Knight Arena. UCLA remained undefeated on the season by holding off Oregon's upset bid. The Ducks were trailing by just 2 points early in the second half and were down to just 7 points in the fourth quarter. The Ducks held the Bruins to their lowest scoring total this season. Nani Falatea had 19 points to lead the Ducks, and Deja Kelly added 14 points. The Oregon women will host rival Washington on Wednesday. In the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers saw their winning streak end at 6 straight on Saturday, but will look to get back in the win column tonight as they visit the Denver Nuggets. The Blazers are just 4.5 games out of the playoff picture, with just 2 games left before the All-Star break. Today's game tips off at 6 p.m. You can tune in for coverage starting at 5 p.m. on The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM. And the Philadelphia Eagles ended the Kansas City Chiefs' hopes of a three-peat with a 40-22 win in the Super Bowl yesterday in New Orleans. The Eagles hounded Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes relentlessly and held the Chiefs scoreless in the first half, while the Philadelphia Eagles built a 24-point advantage.
Whether it's across town or across the state, moving is always a chore. So let BTB Moving help with your next move. BTB Moving is a labor-only company offering statewide services, such as packing and unpacking, loading and unloading, piano moving, cleaning services, and 24-hour emergency services. BTB Moving is an affordable, veteran-owned company here to help with your next move. Call 541-315-0122 or find BTB Moving on Facebook. That's BTB Moving for all your moving needs.
Roseburg basketball is on The Score. It's year 7 under head coach Jordan Humphreys as the Indians hit the hardwood for the 2024-2025 season. Tune in all season long for live coverage on The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM. Or find the live video simulcast available at 541radio.com, where you can also find the latest broadcast schedule and join the action all year long. Local sports talk in Douglas County. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. Fridays, noon to 2, right here on 92.3 FM KWRZ Canyonville and 1490 AM KSKR Roseburg. We're The Score, Douglas County's home for sports. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. We're setting up shop, so pop open the cooler, pull up a seat.
Who wants to have some fun?
Let's talk some pigskin.
Joey's just interested in giving me another heartbreak, another heart attack, another day where I'm considering jumping off my balcony. He's wearing the grass is damn green in Eugene shirt again. Joey, you did not learn.
I don't care about your health.
Joey just might as well jump off the balcony.
Might as well.
From the Score Sports Closet, it's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show.
Welcome back, everybody, here to hour number 2 of the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. We are excited to be with you for what is our season finale here, but we've got plenty more to go here this hour, and we'll still be around. So if you want to talk sports with us, you can hit us up on our social medias as well. Always happy to talk about what's going on in the world of sports with you. If you want to join us here on today's program, we are open to it. 541-673-5551 is the number, 541-673-5551. Let us know your thoughts. Super Bowl 59, did you tune out at some point when this game got very lopsided kind of quickly? Did you tune out? Knight and I both kind of had a moment in that third quarter or second half there where it kind of started to not lose interest, but lose focus going through that one. And, so curious if maybe you ended up doing the same. Commercials, halftime, wanted to get into that because we always got to talk about these things. These are as much a part of the game as the actual football itself. So right now we'd also be asking, what were your favorites from the outside of football perspective when it comes to the Super Bowl? What commercials did you like or dislike? What was your thoughts, your grade on the halftime show as well? Kendrick Lamar, I think... I don't know. Let's start with the commercials because I think the halftime show can spur its own conversation up beyond that. But your favorite was the mayonnaise commercial.
Yes, I like the mayonnaise commercial. I thought it was funny. To me, when I reflected after the
first,
Super Bowl,
I got to ask because you mentioned it moments ago. You were born in 2002.
Yeah.
Did you get the reference?
I didn't, actually.
Did you have to look it up?
My mom sent it to me in the middle of the Super Bowl. She texted me. She was like, did you understand what they were talking about in that mayonnaise commercial? And I was like, Mom, they were trying to sell mayonnaise.
Because that movie came out, it would have been 13 years before you were born.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only 6 when that movie came out. Now, I have seen that movie, and I get the reference, but I doubt that I saw that when it came out, and I had to have seen it, obviously, outside of its original release. But so you didn't get it, but yet you still enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. I thought
maybe
it was
funny. It hits. So Adweek is a popular organization that follows all the commercials, and they usually have their rating. Everybody puts out ratings,
and that's fine.
And that was in their bottom 5. I'm wondering if maybe a younger crowd liked it because they weren't as familiar with it, and it didn't feel like it was
depends
just a
on who
replay.
you're looking at. Because right now I'm looking at People right now, and People had it as the best throwback commercial.
Okay,
so like it just kind of depends on the demographic.
I guess
obviously,
so.
like with my demographic and my age range, kids around my age, a lot of men and women, definitely like Sydney Sweeney. She's definitely like up there and one of the top actresses out there, and so
she played such a small role in that one, though.
I know it's just a little bit at the end, and maybe that's the memorable part. To me, that was just like when I got done watching the Super Bowl at the very end of the day, I just kind of thought back at like, okay, which commercials do I remember? And the mayonnaise one was the one that stood out to me. That was the one that I thought about the most. I was like, oh, that was like funny. That's the one that I remember. That and the David Beckham, Matt Damon, Stella one was pretty fun.
That one was all right.
Because at the very end, he's just like how well known are you? He's like
Ben Affleck.
He's like Ben Affleck, which I thought was funny. Like I liked that one a little bit. That one got me. Then there's certainly the ones that I thought were weird. Like, what was it? Was it Tubi that did the flesh cowboy hat?
Yeah, that one was
like
weird.
A little weird.
That one was weird. They had the coffee mate. They had the tongues that were coming detached. Yeah. That one was interesting. What did you think of Mountain Dew? Because I feel like some people hated it. It's the one with Seal as a seal.
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah, I mean, Mountain Dew's been coming out with some really weird ones lately. But I saw some people that were they hated on that one. But I've seen other people that thought it was one of the better ones. You mentioned memorable. Like, I remembered that one. I remembered what it was for. The song was very weird. Yeah. The look of Seal's head on a seal's body was definitely weird. But it was a memorable one. I definitely thought that it served its purpose of making me pay attention.
I remember the Doritos one. The Doritos one was fun.
Doritos was the guy. They wasn't it a spaceship was trying to take his Doritos?
Yeah, he was trying to get the Doritos, and he's getting flung up and down all over the room, and then at the very end, it finally goes out the window and
the splits the spaceship in half,
and he's trying to explain to the alien the Dorito. I don't know.
I thought that was a good one. I did like the Michelob Ultra one. This was one that was mentioned here with the guy's name. Why am I blanking on it here? Catherine O'Hara and Willem Dafoe. I thought that was fun that they're hustling people at pickleball to win ultras. Yes,
I like that. That one was
play
really
it for
fun.
Your ultras. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. They did a good job with those two playing well on the pickleball.
I like the Little Caesars one with Eugene Levy
losing his eyebrows.
Yeah,
that was another one that was silly. What'd you think of the one though with?
I thought the Pringles one was so similar. It was
very much so. I thought it was fun in the fact, I don't think it made any sense. I get the Pringles guy has a mustache, but why are all the mustaches leaving? The premise. I mean, granted, we're dissecting the premise around commercials. I thought the premise was a little interesting and weird and didn't quite make a lot of sense. But it was fun that they had Nick Offerman, who was in the Parks and Rec. His mustache goes ripping. They had James Harden, and he had his beard stayed, but his mustache left. And you had some other notable guys in there as well. I thought that one was all right.
I thought it was pretty cool.
That was all right. Yeah, it was definitely one that remembered. Uber Eats had their whole thing going on throughout the playoffs of that football makes you want to eat. Mm-hmm. And so it was their thing, and they went through the history of sports, and they have Kevin Bacon back in the old-timey footage. Yep. That one was Interesting. Did you?
What was
there was the Dunkin' Donuts one at the very start of the game.
No.
Okay. Did you catch that
one?
I
actually, I'm going to be honest. I missed the opening drive of the game.
Oh,
because
my goodness.
This is actually really embarrassing. And
Were you still getting your pizza?
No, it wasn't. I was actually right before the game. Me and my dad, we decided to play 9 holes on our Road to the Masters video game. And when I flipped back from like PlayStation to TV, it like kept it from like where I started the pregame show.
Oh.
And so like I thought I was.
Did you text me about when is kickoff?
Yes,
because
like,
you were questioning it.
I
thought you were just.
It was like 9:40, and I was like, "Wow, they're still doing all this stuff." And then I realized, like, I went on Twitter immediately, and I was like, "Oh, like there's like games, like people are talking about the score bug right now because you texted me that too." Yes. I was like, "I need to go live," and so I realized that I was like so far behind, so I literally missed like the opening drive of the game, and because of
you
that.
text me that, and I thought you were just making a joke because we were like, when is pregame?
Honestly, like it was really close to like 3:30. Like
it was, I think, like about 3:45 maybe is when they really started to get in, like maybe just after the kickoff. It probably was a little before that, but it wasn't too bad. So you mentioned the outside. We're talking about outside the game itself. The score bug was big.
Yeah, the scoreboard was big. I just had one more.
Yeah.
There was a couple of ones. I like the Squarespace one. I thought that was funny where it was like the newspaper guy and he was throwing laptops instead of newspapers. He was like Squarespace and he was like throwing like a laptop through like the window like it was like a newspaper.
I don't think I remember that one.
Oh, that was like it was like an old time. It was like a guy like in Ireland, like in the countryside, and he was like on a horse and he was just like Squarespace and he's like throwing it and it goes through the window and it's like all these websites that you could like build on Squarespace or something on there. I like that one. And then I'm looking at, I think Nerd Wallet. It was like the one with the whale out in the
calling everybody nerds all the
yes.
time.
I
did like that one. That was a good one too. Yeah,
So,
I did like that one.
But if you want to, we can talk about the score bug. Any other commercials that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think those were probably my favorites. They're kind of the ones that we went through. I can't really think of any that...
Oh, I like the Angel Soft that they did the 30-second ad for the birth.
I mean, that was clever.
Bathroom.
That was clever, except for I just didn't want... Like, I was like, okay, something's going to happen. And really, like, what'd they give you? 20 seconds to run to the bathroom?
30 seconds.
Well, I mean...
They paid $8 million for
It was a 30-second ad, but they didn't tell you to go to the bathroom until a couple of seconds into it. Yeah. And then they had something at the very end as well. It was like... I don't think anybody's going to the bathroom that quickly. I'm not going to the bathroom. It definitely takes me longer than that.
100%. But still, like,
I mean, it was definitely
like
creative.
Yes.
Definitely a good way to market something you use in the bathroom by giving people a bathroom break. And that is like one of the things about the Super Bowl is like usually you use that commercial time to go use the restroom during a football game. Mm-hmm. You can't do that during the Super Bowl. So like that's a brilliant, very smart advertising point there. Everything is dissected when it comes to the big game, the Super Bowl. And the biggest thing at the start of the game was the score bug. And if you don't know what I mean by that, the scoreboard on the screen where you can see the down and distance, the time, the score of the game, timeouts left, where the football's at, all the quarter, all those different things that you get on the graphic on the screen during a game. It's referred to as the score bug. And if you didn't know that, now you do. If you didn't know that and you had gotten on social media, you probably learned pretty quickly what everybody was talking about because literally as the game kicked off, everyone, it was the only thing coming up on my timeline was the score bug. And I said something to my wife. I was like, boy, did you see the score bug there? And she goes, oh, yeah, I guess it's a little different. She's like, she liked it. It was big and easy to read and didn't take up a lot of the space on the screen.
It?
My wife liked it. I went to social media. It was the only thing that anybody was talking about for the first 2 drives of the game.
It's so funny. Everybody was like bashing on it, and the only person that I saw that gave like a very favorable opinion was my good friend Alex Stimson, who runs Quack Video at the University of Oregon. He posted in there. He was like, "Fine, I said it." Like the old farmer guy, like standing up in the courtroom type of meme. He was like, "I like the new scoreboard." There I said it. And honestly, like I did like the fact that like it would expand out towards like the right or left depending on which team, like so the Chiefs were on like the left side, so it would expand out and then it would like give you stats. Like I definitely liked that aspect of like the score bug. I just didn't like just the big letters KC and like the big letters.
Yeah,
like I'd rather that be like the logos of the teams over than like the
initials. Yeah, I saw somebody say that the score bug looks like it's been stung by a bee. All of the letters were so big. Also jokes that this is like looking at an old person's phone, text messages on an old person's phone, where the text is always enlarged.
That's so funny.
Which, as someone who is getting older and eyesight continues to get worse, like
have you gotten to that point in your life?
No, I haven't. I'm fighting desperately of enlarging the text on my phone. Gosh. But I know your eyesight's not great. So
yeah, obviously. Have you seen my? I wear glasses. You wear glasses.
But I wear glasses. But my eyesight's not horrible.
100%.
My wife's, hers has always been worse than mine, and I got this feeling that yours is worse than mine.
Yeah, my vision's bad. I've had glasses since I was 4, so like I don't remember life without glasses. Like
I'm only wearing mine today because I ran out of time to put in contacts this morning.
Dude, I can tell you, like I definitively remember being like 4 years old or 3 years old, like really young. I guess I was 4 because I got glasses when I was 4, and just standing on one side of our living room, my dad being like, Knight, can you read that clock? And I was like, no. And he was just like, all right, I think you need glasses. And then I like went and got glasses, and my whole life I've just remembered glasses. But it's funny you say that because I'm like, I'm 22 right now. I'm still pretty young. Like, I don't know when it's going to get to the point in my life where I'm going to have to adjust, like, the text size on my phone. Because my dad, like, he's 69 years old. Like, his is, like, very big. And, like, that's just kind of been, like, the case ever since he's gotten a phone. Like, he was older when he got a smartphone. And so, like, gradually, like, when you got your first phone, like, you'd have, like, the bigger text settings. Is there going to be a point in my life where I'm going to have to actually, like, enlarge the text on my phone?
I think there's going to be.
And that's going to be a sad point because I feel like I've grown so accustomed to this.
Trust me,
text.
I am fighting it desperately. I mean, I'm not bad. Up close, I'm not bad. I don't need readers yet, but there are times I look at my phone and I go, did the text get smaller? Like, did like the setting change that it got smaller?
It's coming. It's coming.
It's probably not far around the corner. My wife hasn't done it, but she's also Yeah,
my mom. I mean, my mom's like up there, so my mom's.
I don't know if my parents have. I should check with them and find out if they've made that change.
So my mom's like 52. She got bifocals now.
That's a kind of a, it used to be like turning 40 was a big milestone in your life. You hit that midlife kind of area and whatnot, and now it feels like people live longer, or they kind of are able to stay active longer in their life or whatever it may be, that like 40 doesn't seem nearly as, and maybe it's because I am 40 now, that it doesn't seem nearly as big of a milestone anymore. But maybe the new milestone is when you have to actually adjust your cell phone to larger text so that you can actually read it. Interesting.
Here's what I will say. I think you're certainly right. Like, I think people are living longer, and so I think that 40 doesn't make it like the halfway point in your life, because I feel like people are like now wanting to push themselves to live to 100 years old, and so like 50 is kind of like that midway point.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. I don't want to talk about that life expectancy stuff. I got too much time. I just don't want to focus on that now. Don't make me think about my mortality. So the score bug, definitely a hot topic there. Let's see here. Let's get a break in here, and we'll come back. We can dissect some of because you want to talk about a moment of needing to of feeling old. I need the Cliff Notes version of what's going on with the halftime show, because I know there's so much more than just the music that was going on there, and I need to find out. So if you are like me and you watch the halftime show and you're like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be getting out of this, look, I enjoyed it. I will provide my thoughts on it. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good. And it's not necessarily my genre of music, but I thought it was all right. I thought it was good. I wasn't disappointed with it. I know that probably a lot of the older generation might have not have gotten into it, but if you want to know maybe some of the younger generation's thoughts, Knight is here to indulge us on that. So,
okay.
Yeah, you got a lot of responsibility to live up to here. So we'll get in a break. We'll come back. We will dive into the halftime show, and we've got some kind of now moving forward. the main football season's done. If you're into the spring football thing, good for you. You're a degenerate, whatever. But Canadian football ones, that kind of overlaps mostly with NFL stuff, or does it start soon? I know you're going to be into Canadian football.
Preseason starts in May.
Okay, so we got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Because I feel bad saying that the football season's wrapping up, but in reality,
you got UFL.
You've got UFL right around the corner. Are there other spring football leagues still? Is it just UFL?
It's just UFL.
There was a couple of them going there for a little bit.
Dude, I loved.
Is XFL coming back again? Or did it come back and already die?
They like meshed, like they there was both of them. It was like the UFL and like the XFL, and then they combined and just went into one league after they both.
You want to know something sad? There was one year, I don't even remember.
I'm blanking on the name of the league. It was right before COVID. It was like the San Diego Fleet, the Arizona Hot Shots were in the league.
Yeah, what was that one?
The Seattle Dragons. I was a big fan of that league. I actually huge Arizona Hot Shots fan. Randomly, John Wolford, he was the starting quarterback of the Arizona Hot Shots. He eventually went on and started a game for the LA Rams. Really cool. Loved that. What league was that?
What was that called? Because I think it was the one that...
It was the...
I think that was the league that...
The Alliance of American Football.
Yes, the Alliance.
I loved that league.
We actually, you want to know something crazy? This was back when Josh was here on the show with me. We did Alliance Fantasy Football. Well, we tried.
Really?
We tried, and it failed miserably because we couldn't. The site we found to try and do it with was just not prepared to try and do it.
Yeah, I could see that. But that league, I loved the Arizona Hot Shots. Like, me and my dad, we watched every single game. And we were living in California. We were like, all right, maybe we should be like San Diego Fleet fans. Because San Diego was like the closest team to us. Mike Martz was like the head coach of their team. But we watched every game, and we ultimately decided on the Hot Shots because of, well, a couple of things. Number one, John Wolford, he was really good in that game. But their backup quarterback was Trevor Knight, former Oklahoma quarterback, Texas A&M quarterback. I've always liked him because his last name was Knight, and my name is Knight, so I've liked him. And then Justin Stockton. Another all-time guy that I loved from Texas Tech. This is the obscure, random football players. This is why I love the CFL, because the guys like Justin Stockton that I'm like, man, I loved watching him in college. They actually get a shot in this league, and yeah.
So if you're a degenerate like that,
Rashad Ross, yeah.
You've got some spring football coming up here at some point, but for the most part, we're into the off season, so we'll be looking ahead as what's coming up, and kind of just there's other things going on just in the Super Bowl here in this last week. Since we didn't have a show Friday, there's some other things that we should mention here before we sign off for Season 3. We'll be back, and we'll get back into it here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show on the Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM.
For your Score Sports Update, I'm Knight Jarecki. Coming up today in local sports, it's a top 10 showdown in the Class 3A girls basketball rankings. The number 10 Sutherland girls host number 5 Cascade Christian in a non-league contest. The Bulldogs lost to the Challengers back on January 9th and will look for redemption tonight. Tonight's matchup will get underway at 6 p.m. You can tune in for coverage starting at 5:45 p.m. on I-101 FM. Dan Bain has the call. Also, the Roseburg wrestling team is headed to Grants Pass for a makeup duel against the Cavemen. The contest was postponed due to winter weather last week. The varsity duel gets underway at 7 p.m. tonight. In college hoops, the Oregon women's basketball team hosted number 1 UCLA yesterday and battled with the Bruins for 4 quarters before ultimately falling 62-52 at Matthew Knight Arena. UCLA remained undefeated on the season by holding off Oregon's upset bid. The Ducks were trailing by just 2 points early in the second half and were down to just 7 points in the fourth quarter. The Ducks held the Bruins to their lowest scoring total of the season. Nani Falatea had 19 points to lead the Ducks, and Deja Kelly added 14 points. The Oregon women will host rival Washington on Wednesday. In the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers saw their winning streak end at 6 straight on Saturday, but will look to get back in the win column tonight as they visit the Denver Nuggets. The Blazers are just 4.5 games out of the playoff picture, with just 2 games left before the All-Star break. Today's game tips off at 6 p.m. You can tune in for coverage starting at 5 p.m. on The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM. And the Philadelphia Eagles ended the Kansas City Chiefs' hopes of a three-peat with a 40-22 win in the Super Bowl yesterday in New Orleans. The Eagles hounded Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes relentlessly and held the Chiefs scoreless in the first half, while the Philadelphia Eagles built a 24-point advantage.
Whether it's across town or across the state, moving is always a chore. So let BTB Moving help with your next move. BTB Moving is a labor-only company offering statewide services, such as packing and unpacking, loading and unloading, piano moving, cleaning services, and 24-hour emergency services. BTB Moving is an affordable, veteran-owned company here to help with your next move. Call 541-315-0122 or find BTB Moving on Facebook. That's BTB Moving for all your moving needs.
It's about family and tradition at the Gill.
The fans stream onto the court at Gill Coliseum.
Building the dam brick by brick.
Step back three for the win. Goal! He hit it, and the Beavers win.
Oregon State plays here on the Beavers Sports Network.
Find out when the Beavers will be on the air next. Check the live sports broadcast schedule at 541radio.com or use the 541 radio app.
Chilling at the tailgate party, getting ready for the games. This is the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving.
Back here in the Score Sports Den, Joey and Knight hanging out here with you one more time here for Season 3 of the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving, providing labor services for your moving needs, veteran-owned, affordable, dependable, efficient, and careful. They've got senior and veteran discounts available. Book now at 541-315-0122 or find them on Facebook at BTB Moving. Back here on the program, halftime show was Kendrick Lamar.
It was.
What'd you think of it? Your grade of the halftime show, because we've got to grade all these things. So
yeah, it's really tough for me because I technically should be in the demographic that would enjoy this type of Super Bowl halftime show, but the way that my friends describe me is that old cat that's just somehow staying alive but looks a little bit younger than it is. My friends call me an old soul. I'm already being called Unk. I went back to Eugene this past weekend, and it was I went to a concert on Saturday night. After the concert at 11:30, I said, all right, guys, I need to drive back to Roseburg. I'm going to get home and then try to get a good night of sleep. And they said, Knight, you're trying to go to bed before midnight? You're trying to get home before 1 a.m.? Come on, stay out till 4 in the morning. I can't do that. It's not my thing anymore. I'm an adult. I have a job. You know? Things are different a little bit for me, especially compared to a lot of my friends. I feel I've just kind of jumped right into adulthood. I graduated from college. I got a job. I'm working, full-time 5 days a week. And that's just kind of a different story than a lot of my friends around my age. And so I feel like I'm a boomer of sorts a little bit. They're calling me boomer. They're calling me Unk. They're calling me grandpa. I feel very old. And to be honest, I don't really listen to hip hop. I don't really listen to rap. And maybe that is a little bit of that boomer in me. That's this old soul that likes rock music, that likes country music. And, Kendrick, I do like some beats and sure, it's very catchy, but it was oh, he's I expected him to play Not Like Us. And apparently that was the biggest thing was is he going to play it? Is he not going to play it? This is going to be the rap battle that ends all rap battles. And to me, it kind of just went over my head. I didn't really think about the rap battle, the significance between the feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, which has been going on for over a year.
Okay.
I knew that there'd been this debate between Drake and Kendrick, and I knew that basically the cliff notes that I kind of got was that I think it was J. Cole. J. Cole said the big three, and that's him, Kendrick, and Drake. And then Kendrick was there's no big three, it's just the big me. And it's all just about him being the top rapper nowadays. And then Drake released a song, had a little jab at Kendrick, and then they just kept going back and forth. Little jabs, subtle, and then it just kind of ended with Kendrick Lamar releasing Not Like Us and calling Drake a pedophile and calling having him join in and
see, I think
tie him to like the Diddy conversations, which I don't like. There's like literally no evidence of Drake like being tied to Diddy or like being a pedophile. In fact, that's what Drake apparently is like suing right now. He's suing Kendrick Lamar, being like, where's your proof that I'm a pedophile? Show me the evidence. And he just hasn't showed any. And this whole like Super Bowl halftime show was like this big tensious rap battle between the East Coast guy, Drake from Canada, and you had Kendrick from Compton, and, you know, this battle of the West versus East, kind of like we saw in the 90s, like the Tupac versus Biggie, like who's better, West Coast rap, East Coast rap, whatever it is. And it went down to, is he going to sing Not Like Us or rap Not Like Us or not? And
so Not Like Us, I mean, I know I'm familiar kind of with the tune and whatnot, but is that one of his like big like attacks on Drake then?
Yeah, that's the diss track.
That's the diss track?
That's like the diss track.
Like you're not like us, basically?
Like, not like us. I don't know, like exactly. Like again, the big lines are him saying certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Which like that's the one.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely that's
certified
a
lover
jab.
boy refers to Drake and a album I believe he released called Certified Lover Boy. So that's why
that's why you know that he's talking about him.
And then he's like in the middle of his performance too. He says, "Say Drake, like I heard you like him young," and he's smiling at the camera. And again, this is just like my over analysis of like what I've gathered from this like period of time. But at the end of the day, I don't know, like it felt like a lot of people were pretty invested in this drama. To me, like
that's why I needed to bring it up. Was I was curious.
It felt like for me, like it just felt like too forced. Like or, like I don't know if maybe it's not too forced, but like for the average public, maybe they don't understand it. But it is like Not Like Us was just named like the most decorative song in Grammy's history, I think.
Really?
Like it won like 5 awards. Like it's like one of the most listened to like things.
So,
and the other thing too was Serena Williams, because apparently
I did see apparently she's Drake's ex.
Yeah, apparently they had like a fling or something, and like he like stalked her or something afterwards. I don't know if this is true. Again, like this is all just like a part of the lore, but apparently like Drake was like super into Serena. She like ended things, and he kept trying to pursue it, and to have her out there crip walking, which is a dance. It's called the crip walk. Another West Coast hip hop rap type of dance, and she was out there dancing, and that like added to it. But like for me, like even though like I like some Kendrick Lamar songs, and like I wouldn't say I'm a big hip hop fan, like I still was underwhelmed with the performance.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty straight.
Yeah, I thought it was just pretty straight. Like it wasn't like there wasn't anything flashy, and there was a lot of like political stuff that also was going on. Like if you like super examine it, obviously,
I'm sure, yeah,
with like Trump being in the building and Kendrick Lamar being out there, and you kind of have Samuel Jackson being like the black Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's making certain remarks throughout, and you have SZA come in, and he's like, good, this is what America wants. And it's like the pop singer. Well, you know, she's like kind of an R&B soul singer, but like she's out there singing, and, you know, and it's funny because like, you know, that's what like at least what I've seen from people online, a lot of black Americans saying like that was like the whole point, was that was like trying to appease like the white Americans, which to be fair, like I did text my dad, and I texted a few of my friends, hey, I thought SZA was probably the best part of that halftime show. And maybe that just falls into me being a part of like the quote unquote system, and I'm not woke enough, and I don't really fully grasp it. Again, like a lot of this is like over my head.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to. Like,
that's where I felt. That's where I felt is like I feel like there's a lot that's going over my head right now that's not about just the music. But I mean, for you to say, you know, that Kendrick Lamar's got a song that's like one of the most decorated in Grammy's history or something like that. The choice of that artist is at least worthy in the fact that like he is a highly decorated artist and is like one of the best in his genre, and is a popular artist, and so like the choice of him wasn't a bad choice for a halftime performance. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed the performance. I wasn't wowed. It's not going to land in my top, you know, I think I saw at least one person say on social media that, you know, best halftime show ever, and I was like, there's no way that that's anywhere close to true. I think there's plenty plenty that are going to be above that for sure. But I thought it was good. I was entertained. I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed it. I know that there was plenty that went over my head that was kind of between the lines when it comes to the music and to the performance and some of what was being said by Samuel L. Jackson and some of those other things.
Yeah, and there's so much context. Like, I mean, I'm even trying to, like, explain to you, and, like, this is just gathering information based on numerous articles online, just trying to figure out, like, exactly what this whole feud's about. Like, I was like, why is he calling Drake a pedophile? Like, is he a pedophile? Like, did he get, like charged with this? Like, did I miss something? And, like, I can't find anything. Yeah. And that's what Drake's suing him for, is that he's suing Kendrick because he's like, you have no evidence. This is libel. You're putting this out there. And so he didn't even sing the word, but he sang, like, the verse and then, like, certified. And then, he had, like, this scream that went over. And then the whole stadium, pedophile. So that just, like, further fuels the point of, like, the fans and whatnot. And, like, I recognize, like, I am white. I live in Roseburg, Oregon. Like, my perspective, my worldview here in this town is a lot different than probably a black kid in Compton that grows up and has a different worldview and environment around him. And maybe, like, for a lot of kids, like that kid that maybe grows up in Compton and sees Kendrick Lamar, a guy from the same neighborhood that he's from, go on and do a show like that, maybe it resonates with them. And I think that's cool that, like, a certain fraction of this country felt like this was one of the most influential like halftime shows, and that this was, like, not only just like a political but a racial statement that they made for the black community and for just the country in its current state, with Trump being in the building and all of the excitement around the halftime show. Like, to me, like, a lot of this goes over my head because I'm just, like, sports fan.
I'm here for the game.
I'm here for the game, not necessarily for the music. But there is a large amount of the country that tunes in for the halftime show, not necessarily for the football game.
Yeah.
And so, it certainly appealed to a lot of different demographics.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, when it came down to just the music and the performance, I thought it was fine. I thought I thought it did the job. It filled the time. It entertained, and I thought it was fine. I know there was a lot of subtext that went behind.
Have you ever like for me, like, I don't really watch rap. Like, I don't listen to rap, so I've never been to a rap show. Have you ever been to a rap show?
I saw MC Hammer in Salem at the Armory up there when I was a kid. That was one of my first concerts as a kid. I had a birthday, and my parents offered, you can either get rollerblades or you can go to this concert. And I chose the concert. So my dad and I went and saw MC Hammer and watched from, like, way far away from the stage.
And, like to me, like, it's like they're just singing into a microphone. Like, there wasn't, like, a lot of, like, dancing. Like, I guess, like, there was, like, kind of like a dancing around, but it wasn't like there was music being played. Like, there wasn't, like, a guitarist out there, somebody on keys. It just felt like very stationary. I don't know. That was, like, my kind of perspective.
I didn't think I was expecting maybe a little bit more production.
Yeah,
production value to it. Like, they had a stage, they moved around, they had a lot of different elements.
But it was, like, all on the field. Like, even, like, when The Weeknd came and did his thing, and he was, like, up in, like, the upper deck, and then he came down, and, like, there wasn't, like, any, like, like
grand entrance
or like a zip line or, like, getting carried up in the air with, like, a harness or anything like that.
What did Beyonce just perform at recently? Was that the Super Bowl last year? What did she?
Beyonce? I don't know.
Didn't she rode in on a horse or something?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, what was that she did? I mean, that had some production value to it. What was that sport? What was that event? Why can't I think of what that would have been?
Was it Christmas? Like, wasn't it the Texans game on Christmas Day?
Did they do a Beyonce concert at a random Christmas game?
Yeah, Beyonce rode in with a white horse named Marshmallow during her halftime performance at the 2024 Christmas Day game, known as the Beyonce Bowl.
So weird that's what game. Like,
and I actually liked Beyonce. Actually, I liked Beyonce's halftime that she did during the Christmas more than I liked.
Yeah,
like
I think I would agree
Kendrick
with you
Lamar.
there. Yeah. Anyways,
and I thought that was, like, that was a pretty high production value too, and whatnot. But obviously the song's very popular. Talking to a lot of my friends, they were, like, thrilled about it. They were like, Not Like Us is a generational song. Like, this is, like, the song of our generation. And to me, like, because I'm not the type of person to go to clubs and go to like, the club type of parties and go and explore that type of music. Like, it doesn't necessarily hit home to me, but I'm happy that it really resonates with like a lot of people in this country. And, I understand that I am in the minority. I am the quote unquote the boomer, the weirdo, the old soul. And I understand that, like, me isn't going to appeal to the masses. Like, if I had to choose who was out there for the halftime show, people would be looking at me like, why are you picking this for the halftime show?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely that would be the case. All right, we'll get to a break here. When we come back, we're going to start moving forward. The offseason is here. Draft is right around the corner. In fact, I was just scrolling through Twitter here, and they are revealing the draft hats for this year's NFL draft. So we've got that to look forward to. But also, what's the future? Patrick Mahomes, they loses his second NFL Super Bowl game. What's the future for the Kansas City Chiefs? Will they be back? What is his future in his status as the possible greatest of all time? We'll wrap up our Season 3 looking ahead to what is to come for the world of football when we return here on the Score 92.3 FM and 1490 AM.
Your total comes to $389, and here's $100 just for shopping with us.
Well, she's all full. Here's a brand new big screen TV just for stopping by.
These things don't just happen unless you listen to your local radio. We give away free prizes just for tuning in. Check out all the contest rules online at 541radio.com and score big just for listening to your station. The Score 92.3 FM and 1490 AM.
It's the event of the season. Hops for Canine Cops at Backside Brewing in Roseburg, Sunday, March 9th, starting at 2 p.m. Bring your crew for an afternoon packed with pizza, buffet, and dessert, and a chance to meet some of the four-legged heroes. Early bird tickets are just $50 until February 23rd. Every bite and every sip you take helps support our local canine cops in their fight against crime. Don't wait. Head to uvk9.org for tickets to Hops for Canine Cops. Let's raise a paw for a great cause and have a blast.
Struggling to find good help? Streamline your recruitment all in one place. Lotus Media Group. With our innovative and time-tested solutions, you can reach candidates across all platforms by utilizing the power of print, radio, and digital advertising, and elevate your hiring game with Indeed, Google Jobs, ZipRecruiter, and over a dozen more. Whether you're a small or large business, we have flexible pricing packages to fit any budget. Indeed, we do. Visit nrtoday.com/recruitment and let us do all the work for you.
A stove from Fisher's Hearth & Home will keep you toasty warm during the cold season. A new addition from Saving Grace Humane Society would love to be kept warm too. Hi, I'm Barbara from Fisher's Hearth & Home, and we are proud to sponsor the Saving Grace Pet of the Week.
What if you could save a life just by offering up a cozy spot on your couch and lots of love? Fostering pets is a short-term commitment with a big impact. We'll set you up with all the supplies they need, and you just provide the love. Fostering is a rewarding way to help pets in need while giving them a nice break from the shelter. Whether it's only a weekend or a few weeks, fostering makes a world of difference. Learn more at savinggracehumanesociety.org and sign up to foster today.
Whether it's a wood, pellet, gas, or electric stove, indoor or out, Fisher's Hearth & Home has the right stove for you. Call our family at 541-672-0306. For a cozy companion to be by your side and enjoy the fire with you, visit Saving Grace Humane Society in Roseburg or go to savinggracehumanesociety.org.
Coming up on your sports schedule today, we've got some hoops action. The Portland Trailblazers take on the Denver Nuggets, a road contest for Portland. They'll tip off at 6 o'clock. Pregame starts at 5 o'clock right here on The Score. Sutherland girls basketball is hosting Cascade Christian. Coverage starts at 5:45 on I-101 FM. Find more of the broadcast schedule at 541radio.com.
Recapping games and looking ahead to the weekend, this is the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving.
Oh, man, the internet is undefeated. So many funny things constantly on there. All right, it is our final segment of Season 3 here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show. Big shout-out once again to our friends at BTB Moving, who provided our sponsorship throughout this season. Really appreciate them. If you've got a move that is coming up here soon, you need some help, whether you're moving your house or you just got some stuff in your house that needs to move to storage, you got just some help that you need getting some things from point A to point B, they can help you out. That is BTB Moving. Book now at 541-315-0122. That is 315-0122. Check them out there. Or find them on Facebook at BTB Moving.
One thing I want to say, so my dad, he commented, not Joey's dad, he said, I had the captions on during the halftime show, didn't help. And, I've seen this take, like, a lot on social media from a lot of older folks that I know, and also a lot of white folks that are just like... Well,
I didn't understand most of the lyrics, so yeah.
It's like I couldn't understand them. It's like, yeah, but like, Dad, like I know for sure you like Pearl Jam. Like Pearl Jam, you can't really understand Pearl Jam the lyrics either.
There's plenty of different styles of music where I don't understand.
You just don't understand like the words. Like at the end of the day, like it is like I understand there is a generational difference, but like there's tons of music where you don't understand.
That's a fair point.
The lyrics.
Fair point. There are plenty of songs that I just kind of casually sing to what it sounds like
the beat
versus what the words are. Like, Pearl Jam's a good one there. Definitely exactly. A little Eddie Vedder in there. All right, so first foremost here in our final about 10 minutes here on the program, obviously it's Overreaction Monday with the NFL. You saw what happened, and we're reacting to what just happened. And, it didn't go Kansas City's way, but this is still a good team. Patrick Mahomes didn't lose his ability to be a good quarterback, even though he had a tough day out there. What do you think, though? This feels to me like Kansas City is a team that's kind of showing a little bit of age. Travis Kelce is close to retirement. Their running back, Kareem Hunt is not a long-term future. Yeah. Isaiah Pacheco got hurt, so he was out. But even before that, though, he was a guy that it felt like was kind of a star running back, could be a stud back there. But what's his future like? So you look at those skill position spots. Their wide receiver core has not been great. DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown, I believe, are both free agents. I would imagine Juju Smith-Schuster is maybe a guy that was on a one-year deal there.
He is also a free agent.
Yeah, so what are they doing with a lot of the skill position guys around Patrick Mahomes? Obviously, their offensive line needs to get full. I think injuries kind of hurt them there.
Yeah.
But and their defense had looked better this year, but there's probably some question marks on that side of the ball as well.
The defense was good this year. Spagnuolo did a good job.
Yeah. That was what we were all talking about going into it, was how good that defense
and the defense played good. Honestly,
they just were on the field a lot.
They were on the field a lot, and there was like the early interceptions that really hurt the defense a little bit, because like you get put on the field and you're already down 17-0, and they get the ball back on their own 27-yard line, or on the Chiefs' 27-yard line, and they go down and score another touchdown. Honestly, I didn't think the Chiefs' defense played that bad in this one. But honestly, I think the main thing the Chiefs need to do is reload offensively. And it starts with the offensive line. You got to improve the offensive line. Trey Smith is going to be a free agent. I think they're probably going to have to franchise tag him. He's that valuable of an offensive lineman that you got to franchise tag him. And then if I'm the Chiefs, draft a tight end. First round, if you're able to get...
They've got Noah Gray was behind.
But if you have the capability to draft Tyler Warren, if he's available that late in the draft, you might think about drafting a Tyler Warren, or drafting I'm blanking on the guy's name, but the tight end from Bowling Green was really good this year as well. And so there's a couple of really good tight ends in this class. You got to draft a tight end to kind of replace Travis Kelce, because even if Kelce comes back, this year I don't even think Kelce was the Kelce that we're used to seeing.
No,
he definitely is showing his age, and so I think you need to draft a tight end. You need to draft another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, great. He's a perfect weapon for that offense, but outside of him, the Chiefs really had no offensive options. And then you also need to draft a running back. So there's
a lot of
there's a lot of holes, and obviously you're going to be in it every year because of Patrick Mahomes and the way that he's able to will his team to victory in many different ways, but you need to reload offensively because there's a lot of holes on this team, and they've just kind of skated through. And
so we went into this one talking about Patrick Mahomes and his chase to try and eclipse what Tom Brady did. And, we looked at it in our last show before this about the possibility of him eclipsing Tom Brady and what the possibilities could be. He still needs to play. I think Tom Brady's claim to being the greatest of all times has a lot to do with his longevity. And it's not just the fact that he played for, I feel like LeBron James in the NBA, he could very well be. I know that's going to be an argument a long time between him and Michael Jordan about the best of all time in the NBA. But I think a lot of the records and acknowledgement that LeBron James gets is the fact that he has been in the league for so long. But he hasn't necessarily been in the league and winning championships every year or every couple of years like Tom Brady did. He had a full Hall of Fame career after the age of 35. And won with multiple different teams, and I know LeBron's done that, but his second act in the NFL, just remarkable. It wasn't the fact that he just played until he was 45. It was the fact that he played and was still very successful in winning championships all the way to the very end of his career. And so just because, you look at it, Patrick Mahomes needs to play another 15 years to match what Tom Brady did based on age of how long he played and how many seasons
it's going to be
played.
tough.
And I think the fact that he missed this opportunity to add another Super Bowl to his total is, I think, I don't want to say that you close the door on him being the greatest of all time, but I think this was a huge step back in saying it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think he still has a chance to be one of the all-time greats, but I think even you look at Joe Montana and you say, is Patrick Mahomes surpass Montana? And I think we were saying, going into this, if he wins another one here, he's moved past Montana because of how efficient he's been in his early going of his career. But the ability to keep it going is going to be huge in creating his legacy for the long-term future or long-term, his lifetime.
I think the tough part is now this is on your resume. That loss, and I know that you look at the score and it says it's 40-22, and you're like, okay, well, it's not. The game was worse.
It was worse than that score.
It was way worse than the score, and people are going to remember that. And I think that's the tough part is that, with Joe Montana, he never lost a Super Bowl.
Lost.
Tom Brady, he did lose Super Bowls,
but he made it to 10 of them.
He made it 10 of them, and the ones that he did lose were
all tight,
really close,
all one possession,
really,
games.
Really close. Patrick Mahomes now is going to have this on his resume for the rest of his life.
He's had two kind of lopsided losses. He's had two lopsided losses in his two losses in the Super Bowl. And, I think that's definitely – I like the thing of Tom Brady's been there for all of his worst performances in the Super Bowl. So once as a player, once as a broadcaster.
I know, that's funny. Did you see Nick Foles' tweet?
No, I did see something about that.
Nick Foles tweeted, he was like, I'm so happy Tom Brady was there for both of the Eagles Super Bowl victories. Maybe he's
nice
the good luck charm.
Nice shot there, Nick Foles. So what do you think? I mean, it's hard to predict, obviously, anything. And a lot of this comes down to things that are completely outside of Patrick Mahomes' control. He could continue to be what we've seen from Patrick Mahomes, but if the organization is unable to support him, like Tom Brady got through his long-term career there at New England, if they're unable to continue to put pieces that are good around Patrick Mahomes, it could be completely outside of his, realm responsibility on what the team does going from this point forward. I think you continue to put them in the conversation as Super Bowl contenders year in and year out because of Patrick Mahomes, unless we start to see a true drastic change in the ability of him with what's around him.
And it's so crazy because, again, this is a team that went 15-1.
I know, right? Season. And here we are talking about, is this the downfall of this dynasty?
15-2, and it feels like it is.
We went from 1 week ago thinking that this could be the most epic run for any franchise in the NFL history to now suddenly wondering, will they ever be back? And it is I think at least realistic to ask that question for a franchise in the end. But I think, again, with Patrick Mahomes, I think they at least give themselves the opportunity to be there. But there's a lot of question marks for that Kansas City program going forward. Speaking of some question marks, some other news outside of this, the Oregon Ducks losing on their coaching staff. Junior Adams is taking a job with the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, he is going to the Cowboys. It's crazy because a week ago it was reported that Rashad Samples, the running backs coach, was interviewing for the Dallas Cowboys running back role. He decided to stay, but then Junior Adams left to go to the Cowboys. Adams, that's a big loss. Really good wide receiver coach, recruited Troy Franklin to Oregon.
And recruited some big guys that are coming to the program now that you hope, I mean, in this day and age of player movement, you hope that them leaving or a coach leaving doesn't maybe change something for the upcoming spring.
And there's a lot of turnover everywhere. I mean, Ohio State's lost their entire coaching staff,
for sure.
It feels like. And, it's just part of being a elite program. Like, this is the norm. Like, I understand that Duck fans have been burned and scarred because of all these coaches that have left them. But those have been head coaches. And, when you have a head coach like Dan Lanning that ain't going anywhere, the next best thing you can do is get his assistant coaches.
I mean, you look at Ohio State. Teams that are successful, coaches on those staffs are going to get opportunities, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah,
you don't want those guys to not take opportunities just to stay where they are. But at the same time, we're not going to see the day and age of Oregon football where you had Mike Bellotti and the same assistant coaches for 15 years.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever it was,
it's way different. And good for Junior Adams. Like, he's been in college football for over 20 years. He's done a great job at Washington, Eastern Washington. He coached Cooper Kupp there, and then eventually went to Washington, recruited Roma Duze there, and then went
he's
to
got
Oregon.
Some big names tagged
He has a lot of big-time names, and so I'm happy that he's getting his chance to finally get an opportunity in the NFL. And it's very interesting, too, because the current state of college football, what's happening is that, traditionally, if you were like a high-level position coach, like a wide receiver coach, maybe you get an opportunity to be an offense coordinator, or even sometimes maybe you get an opportunity to be a head coach at the G5 level. And I think that coaches now are opting to go into lower roles at Power 5 levels because of the current state of college football, because they realize it's easier to move up with those roles in comparison to being a higher man at a lower level program. Because at the end of the day, like, you recruit a stud wide receiver, this guy's under-recruited, and you bring him to your program, then what happens? He balls for a year and then leaves and goes to Ohio State, goes to Oregon, wherever it may be. And so for a guy like Junior Adams, who's grinded at Oregon for the last 4 years, like, good for him. He's going to go to the Dallas Cowboys, and, that move might help him move up into the coaching ranks a little bit more.
Yeah, it might. When we were looking at the other guy that had the chance from Oregon to Samples, right?
Yeah.
That had the chance, I was saying, he made the right decision to stay in at Oregon. That Dallas Cowboys coaching staff is going to be gone in a year. So good luck to Junior Adams there. But, no, definitely well-deserved for him. Well, we are going to have to wrap it up here. We are running down on time.
It's been a fun time, Joey.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. And thanks to Knight Jarecki for joining the program for his first season here doing it with us. He is in love with doing sports talk, so who knows what the future might hold for us here on the radio. Maybe we decide to expand this a little bit. If you've enjoyed it and you liked it and you'd love to hear more of us, if you let me know, if you let us know, it might incline us to do more of this. If you don't like it, then you can let us know that too, but please be kind. So that'll do it for us here. Been a fun season. Thanks again to our sponsor, BTB Moving, who has helped make this possible for us to do this show for the last number of months here. And now we will be watching what's going on in the offseason with football and all the other sports, and we'll get ready for upcoming preseason in the NFL in August, the fall camp for college football, and, of course, things getting started with high school football. Roseburg football planning on playing week 0 and this next year. Ooh. So we're going to have some fun stuff going on getting into that here coming up. But, Knight, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it, and good luck to all your teams here in the offseason, man.
Thanks, Joey. Good luck with the number 1 pick.
Yes, there we go. We'll see how that goes. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday. Hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you again here soon on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show on The Score.
Hi, this is Roger from ChargingAdventures.com at 672-3333.